Hello everybody, Shifter's back, and before we get started, I wanted to quickly walk you guys through, in case you're new to The End is Nigh, some basic mechanics, just because I figured I didn't explain it very well in the first episode, and it's important to understand what I'm doing, in case you're playing along and you're trying to understand what I'm doing. So, a bunch of these skeletons will give you some intro information, but I figured I can do it as well. Firstly, obviously, you've got your jump. When you're jumping, you can actually hold the down key, and you can force your jump to be really short or to fall really fast. So like this. You can also use the down arrow to fall off a ledge, so that's pretty useful. If you hold down and you go off the edge, you actually immediately cling to the ledge, which is so critical for so many jumping functions. Really helps you out if you knew that in World 1, things like that. You'll notice that when you're on a ledge, there's two kinds of jumps. There's a jump where if you just hit the spacebar, you'll jump, and if you hold a direction in the spacebar, you'll jump significantly farther to the side. So that's two different jumps, and sometimes you'll screw up and do the wrong one, but it's really important that you know that there's two different jumps to use. These blocks here, you have to actually be moving at a certain velocity. So that only happens when you either are wall jumping, like I was just doing before, or if you are falling. So if you're fast falling, that also works to break these blocks. So with that, I'm gonna go get started on the retrograde. So this wasn't actually the first world that I did from the split. I did the Wall of Sorrow first, which I personally think is one of my favorites. The reason I'm doing the retrograde is because the world that comes after it, which is the machine, is in my opinion one of the easier end worlds. Not to say that any of them are particularly easy. They all have their own challenge associated with them. So I do have to. I just totally missed the ledge. They all have their own challenges associated, but definitely this is not the toughest one. I would say the toughest one is probably, what is it, Golgotha, which is, technically speaking, hell, but the game refuses to call it such, which I guess is whatever they want to do. But yeah, this is, especially without the tumors. Oh god, I'm saying that and then I'm dying. Without the tumors, this isn't quite as difficult as it was the first time I was playing it. Mostly because the tumors are usually in really terrible spots, and then you have to get to the end of a level somewhere. You can actually leave on either side, and that'll save your tumor. So oftentimes it's best to... oh god damn it. It's oftentimes best to go in the way that you came, instead of trying to finish the level with the tumor. And in some levels it's actually, you straight up can't finish the level, or you can't get the tumor without beating the level and then going backwards, and playing through it backwards. So it's definitely good to keep an eye on the tumors, and if you think you can't get a tumor, it's always safe to try to, oh, I'm gonna die, aren't I? Yep. Oops. Yeah, if you're not sure you can get a tumor, it's always a good idea to come back, and come at it from the other side and see if you can get it from there. That's a super important feature that you have to, be aware of when you're playing. There's also some tumors that you're not going to be able to get because you either need a key, or you're not aware of... you either need a key, or you need something else that you don't actually have access to, which is all well and good. You just have to kind of know that you can't get every tumor on your first pass, which is, again, not a huge deal. You just kind of have to know that that's the limitations that you're working with. Oh boy, this level gives me anxiety. Anyway, so yeah, that's tumors. They're a really important collectible. So you can see those half-broken-y blocks. Those are something I could break for a secret. I mean, well, I've kind of screwed this level up. And we're gonna try it again, because I just low-key messed that up, like no one's business. And then I died, because, that's how you show that you're skilled at a game, is you die immediately. There we go. Oh, wait, what? What are these fellas? I forgot about this guy. Ugh, gross. Reminds me of Meat Boy's ballistic turret fellows. Oh god. Oh no! Oh, I totally forgot the center fell like that. Pretty sure this thing spits at me. Yeah, it does. Gross. I'm gonna get out of here, because I'm not looking to get shot in the face. Clouds. And oh my god, why? Woo! Well, that's another life. Oh boy. Alright, get me out of here. I am not looking to get wrecked. Yeah, I had a feeling that was gonna happen. Oh boy. Well, I got absorbed. It happens. Let me think. What else? What else? I don't know. So far, I'm thinking the speedrun's going pretty well. Oh, I'm so unbelievably dead. I've only died a few times. I'm actually not entirely sure if the speedrun has to include the harder levels, which I'm not looking forward to doing, or if it still allows for the easy levels. So I'm not sure if it involves the what's the word I'm looking for? Oh, I totally screwed this up. Oops. I don't know if it's only the easy levels, which I'm calling these levels, or if it involves some of the more endgamey levels. I'm gonna die. I take my fate. If it involves the endgame levels, this speedrun just got a whole lot more ridiculous. I'm kind of hoping that's not the case. Oh, this falls. I'm silly. The musical. Oh, I just whiffed the ever-living shit out of that. But yeah, the dark equivalent, so to speak, is, oh god, the Dark Worlds for some of these, I call them Dark World only through love of Super Meat Boy. There's no actual, oh god, oh, the death was so painful there. Nope, that's gonna kill you. Nope. This is some, we're seeing what I would lovingly call some of the, pixel perfect work that you have to get away. Oh, goddammit, I did it again. So now you can start to see me die more often, which I'm sure many of you were looking forward to. Yeah, there's some. Oh god, I'm just dying terribly. I'm sure some of you were looking forward to me dying a lot. Well, get excited, because I'm going to die an awful lot. Especially on this level, because it's goddamn horrifying. There we go. Oh, and we're already done. Welcome to the machine. This is the, technically, I believe this is the last world. Personally, I just love it because I like the, aesthetic. I think the aesthetic is amazing. I love the, appearance that you're in one giant operating machine. Even though there's, like, no other living thing in this game but you. So, I don't know, I think that's pretty cool. I like the, abandoned appearance of it. I like the fact that this game is all set in the Rapture, but there's already so many different places that you can inhabit. So, you know, you start out in an abandoned cityscape and you wind up in a machine, like, that's just floating out there in the middle of nowhere, which I think is so cool. You'll notice I skipped from 3 to 7. That's because the machine is a really strange world in that the levels don't actually have continuity like a lot of the other worlds do. I'm not entirely sure why they chose to do that. I like it. It makes the machine more interesting. I think it's because it's supposed to be the last world, and it's meant to be a little bit more rigorous than the other worlds. And I'll admit, it's definitely more involved. You have to be definitely more on your toes, and it definitely uses a bunch of mechanics from earlier levels that you really have to keep track of. For example, these little buttons here. Which I don't know if they're new to this world or not. I don't remember. If we see them somewhere else, that'll be the answer to that question. But there we go. Yeah, they basically just trigger a platform. This is the world where you get your keys. I don't think you can get them before that. So if you're looking at a closed door and you're wondering where the hell do I get my keys, this is the world where you get them. So I'm not gonna spoil where you get them because I don't believe they show up in my game anymore because I got them. So I'm not gonna tell you where they are, but they're in this world. So if you're playing on an earlier world, don't stress about the fact that you haven't found any keys yet, because you won't until you get to this world. And I believe that's designed because the key locked areas in certain worlds... Oh, that's not gonna work. Ooh, that's... yeah, that happened. The key locked areas in some of the worlds usually have some pretty tough secrets associated, so I think they want you to have some sort of baseline skill beforehand. And I would say these are definitely the hardest parts of a level are the tumors, by far. So what you're kind of seeing here is me playing through the easier part of the game, which is definitely more of a challenge of, do you remember how you beat the level last time, basically. And obviously I did not remember how I beat this level last time, because I screwed it up. Yeah, there we go. So, yeah, I mean, again, I'm going to skip some levels. I'm not really playing this quite for 100%ing. I'm playing this for the speedrun that I'm going to be doing in the... oh, God, in the technically... I think this is going to be called Episode 0. And we're going to call the speedrun itself Episodes 1, 2, etc. Wow, that was unfortunate. I think that's going to be my plan. I'm not entirely sure yet. I'm still in the planning phase for how I'm going to manage the new channel and all that jazz. I'm still kind of at the infant stages of what I'm doing here. I mean, obviously you can tell with the giant XSplit logo and all the stuff I'm doing with my quality being garbage and all that, and yeah, it's not the best, I'm not gonna lie, but I'm way too excited to be finally recording stuff, so I'm being flexible with it. Oh, that was terrible. It was even worse. But it's okay, I'm not really... I mean, it's functional, and I definitely... oh, God. I'm definitely looking to, oh, God. I'm definitely looking to increase my mic quality, but I think I'm going to do that at a later juncture, maybe for the actual speedrun. I'm going to have some better quality going on, but I figured there's no reason to stress it for the practice run, which is basically a... it's both a practice run for me for playing this game, but it's also a practice run for recording, because I haven't done it in so long. All that jazz. Oh, God damn it. I did it again. Well, I didn't do it again, I just did something different. This is... yeah, this is interesting. We're gonna not get shot, hopefully. Oh, I got shot. One goal, and then I failed. Okay. Oh, what? Stray bullet. Well done, game. You have bamboozled me. Oh, God. Alright, there we go. Oh, that was never gonna work. But yeah, it's a practice run for me, for everyone being me, and more me. Fall down, fall down! Ooh, my exit is safe. Excellent. I'm gonna get out of here. Alright. Nope. I probably deserve that, to be honest. Definitely deserve that. Alright, just be patient. That was bad. But yeah, it's a practice run, but at the same time, it's also a, oh God, it's a chance for me to make sure that, I'm capable and functional enough at some of these levels to be able to, do this speedrun successfully, because, I am not looking to present a speedrun that is terrible. So I'm definitely making sure that, I have a handle on the game that I'm playing, especially if I'm choosing something like a speedrun, just because, I don't know, it just feels like if you're going to speedrun a game, you should have some basic understanding of the game's mechanics. So anyway, welcome to the Wall of Sorrow. This was actually my first choice of world that I went through and played, out of the split, probably because I like going up before going down. I don't know. I just thought this world would look pretty cool. I love the, what's the word I'm looking for? Firstly, I love the soundtrack for this game. It's classical, which, or remixed classical, as I'm sure you heard with Flight of the Bumblebee from The Machine. I like that. I like the classical. It's grown on me a lot. Would I say... oh, God damn it. Would I say that it's my preferred? I don't know. I think I prefer game devs who have original music. But, in terms of classical, I think Ridiculon did a great job with adapting the classical to a game all about the Rapture and the end times, so I think it's a fairly fitting choice of theme, so I'm pretty pleased. I do wish there was some original stuff, but you know, in terms of remixing, they definitely did a great job of making the classical their own, which it's really the best you can hope for when the soundtrack is remixes. So I'm pretty pleased with that. I don't know, I especially like how so many of these soundtracks are so utterly fitting for the worlds that you're in. I mean, you're in a world right now that's literally basically like a walled crag of damned souls. So I think it's a pretty fitting theme, especially the one that's playing that this kind of, what's what I'm looking for. It's like, I don't know, it feels like epic journey through the somethings. I don't know. Oh, I totally choked that. Oh, totally expected that for some reason. Yeah, I don't know. It's just there's a lot of good fits, honestly, to the music. And maybe it's just because I've played the game and I'm thinking like, oh, I remember this. That's cool. And I don't know entirely. Oh, classic. Oh god, classic Ender's Nigh enemy play right there is you think you're safe and then out of nowhere you're boxed in, and the only way you're gonna survive is if alright, let's see if I can just slip in here. Get me out of there. Jeez. I was saying something. Questions. There we go. It's definitely, I'm not sure if it's my memory that's playing the tricks on me first or not. But I would definitely say that the music seems to fit pretty well what's going on. I was very surprised and happy that Flight of the Bumblebee wound up in this game, which has a lot of classical in it. And I was especially excited that they chose the machine for it, which, you know, for me, Bumblebee is this, you know, it's like this organic machine. So I really thought it fit well. I was pretty pleased, in short. Oh, I just ate that in the face. But that being said, I don't know. I would wonder what Ridiculon's choices would be for if they were to remake the soundtrack for this game, but make it. Ooh, that was just awful. If they remade the soundtrack for this game, but made it original, I'd be very fascinated to see what that would look like. Although again, I really appreciated the classical. I think it's great. But yeah, so that's kind of my current. Oh, I forgot about that jump being such a pain in the butt. Let's see if I can hook that. Yeah, I do like the fact that spikes in this game play a really interesting. Yeah, they play a really interesting role in that they're obstacles both when you're looking at them, but they're also like you have to jump around them. So whereas Meat Boy had a lot of movement, oh, I was just dumb, honestly, really stupid. Meat Boy has a lot more movement, I think, than this game does in terms of its obstacles. You'll see a lot of, like, most of the obstacles in this game are kind of constant, so you'll see a lot of spikes, a lot of spike walls, a lot of that stuff, which is fine. I mean, I personally am okay with it. It's just that, it's interesting because, you can kind of come into a level and you see your obstacles already in front of you, which in some ways I think is great, because you get to kind of gauge what you need to do, and obviously when you're playing the stage for the first time, you'll see certain parts of it kind of, that's what I'm looking for. Oop, that was bad. You'll see parts of the level changing in front of you when you're playing it, so, you know, a platform you previously thought was not accessible was actually quite accessible, you just didn't know. Because you were obviously not acquainted with the level because you weren't playing it before. What am I supposed to do here? Am I missing something? Am I just being really silly? I can't tell. Oh, fantastic! I get to come back down into this level. But yeah, I really... Oh, God. I forgot you have to jump there first. But yeah, I think a lot of this is a process-oriented game, which is fine. I don't mind that at all. But definitely, if I was playing this the first time, these levels would be presenting much more of a challenge than they are. And it's definitely... Oh, God. It's definitely not because I think I mean, I definitely got better as I've played more, but I would say that definitely the biggest single factor is the fact that I've played these levels before, so I'm just more familiar with them, although obviously I'm choking this level like no one's business. I don't think I can win this level without dying. Okay, let's try this again. Ugh, gross. I did find it funny that your character actually, like, when you're in the toxic chemicals or whatever, your character actually, like, turns white and skeletal looking, which I didn't actually notice till now. Oh my goodness, here we go dying again, and again. Yeah, this is indicative of my... Oh god. This is indicative of my experience with this game. Oh no, I choked it. Technically I could go back into another level and reset, but I have so many deaths on this save already that I'm just not looking to do that. I don't have the willpower. Where am I going? Oh, up. Okay. Yeah, I'll do that. I believe this takes me to the next world. I think it does, and it does. Perfect. Oh, of course I get sideswiped. Of course. So welcome to the SS Exodus. If you're getting Mario vibes, it's because you should be getting Mario vibes. This is very much like a Mario airship. Or at least that's what it feels like to me. And I've definitely played my fair share of Mario airships, so, nope. Sorry, I had to focus a little bit on that cannon jumping. Oh god, I forgot about this. Oh man, it's been a while since I played this world, just because it was the first one I kind of went through on my second pass, make sure that I had a bunch of stuff done. Firstly, really like the soundtrack. Secondly, again with the machine, I really like how there's kind of this mystery of you don't know who's operating this or if anyone's operating it. So there's kind of this interesting feel of abandonment but also activity. Which I really appreciate. It's kind of like when you think about the Rapture, or at least to me, I feel like there's this like feeling of lifelessness, and the fact that in this game that's really not the case. There's kind of always movement and stuff that's like alive, moving around, doing stuff. I think that's a great feature to have in a game about the Rapture. Having, you know, all this operating machinery that... Oh, I just jumped right into that like a boss. I think it's really cool that you have all this operating machinery, you have... Oh god. Especially in some of the earlier worlds, you had... I don't know if you were looking in the previous episode, if you were looking at the overflow, there were tadpoles, there were just other, like, ambient things that give you that feeling of there's life despite the apocalypse. So even though you're the only, like, known functional sentient creature from whatever time before the apocalypse. Oh boy. It's, in my opinion, it's pretty cool. Oh god, I just jumped for no reason. Yep, that'll do it. It's interesting that there is so much going on in the apocalypse. I think people assume that the apocalypse is just this empty void, and I feel like at the stage of the apocalypse this guy's in, which is everything got totally screwed up, but he's still alive and kicking. I mean, to me that just indicates that you know, there's something to be said about the fact that that doesn't mean that the apocalypse should be completely empty. I definitely like the abandoned feel. I think that's definitely a vibe that was being shot for. And I think they hit it really well, personally. I'm not looking to get killed. Please leave me alone. But yeah, especially with some of the earlier worlds where like there was so much life and so much liveliness, there was just no sentience. Really, the only things that you would see are the dead. Whew, that thing almost sideswiped me. Which is fine. I mean, I kind of like the interaction that you have with the damned spirits and stuff like that, which you kind of come to assume isn't really something that was expected before the apocalypse broke out. And it's the real question, of course, is what were the people like before the apocalypse? Oh, that's a secret. I don't care about the secret. Oh, of course. Oh my goodness. They would put a freaking enemy right there. Let's see. Anyway, it's interesting because the other stuff you see, it looks kind of like you, but not really like you. So I'm interested in perhaps, like, I wish this game had more of a, I wouldn't say a story, but more backstory to it would be cool. The cutscenes definitely leave you hanging a lot on the world building, and I think the world building here would have been really cool to see. I mean, that's just not typical. Oh, jeez. It's just not typical of the kinds of games that Edmund puts out. For you to see that kind of stuff, there's not really a whole lot of active world building. I think that's just because, and I don't blame at all for this, there's a big focus on gameplay. And I'm a much bigger fan of strong gameplay than strong story. And I think that's because if you're... Oh, God, it sniped me. If you're playing a game, I feel like you should be... I mean, I guess if you're playing one of those, like... What's the word I'm looking for? Games like Danganronpa, where I feel like the gameplay is kind of secondary to the overall experience, so to speak, of the gameplay. And the... Oh, God damn it, it's the secret. The experience of the gameplay and, like, the gameplay itself is not what's being focused on. That's one thing. Like, if you're playing a story game, so to speak, that's totally fine. Oh, God damn it. But I feel like if you're playing a game that focuses on gameplay, and it's difficult, especially a game like this, where the main focus is the platforming, and really kind of the other elements are secondary, I think that the focus on the story is not quite as imperative as in other titles, where that's definitely more important. I can't think of any off the top of my head. That's because I am currently busy not... Oh, God. I was going to say not dying, and then I just, you know, broke my promise to myself. Oh, God, no. I'm sure anyone watching this is probably going like, why is he jumping into the same bullet over and over again? And I'm like, well, I can't help it. I have a little bit of a bullet problem, obviously. Gross. That one I just kind of choked on my own. I didn't need no help. I could choke all on my own. Oh, God, this thing's gonna... Oh! Yeah, that thing almost just crushed my ass into oblivion. Oh, no. I've died a lot, but I don't think I've died 200 times yet. I'm a little worried that the main game includes the Dark World. I'm going to call it the Dark World. It's definitely not the Dark World. It's called the Future, I think. That'll be major spoilers for anyone who's picking this game up for the first time. Although, honestly, this game has quite... Or this run is going to have quite a bit in the way of spoilers, unfortunately, but that's just the nature of the video here. Oh, God, this thing's faster than I am. It's just going to have some spoilers, so you just kind of have to expect that. I apologize, but at the same time, I don't know. I could blind play this, but I feel like that would just be cruel to anyone expecting this game to be difficult, and you think, oh, it's just going to be an easy game, and it's just not. Oh, God, this level's a nightmare. Let's see. Nope. That wasn't going to work. I forgot how much I had trouble with this level. Nope. I believe you have to bounce... not like that. You can't just whiff it. I think you have to... There we go. We're going to come over here, and that is the end of the Exodus. So, we're going to go back to the split, and I think I'm going to call it off and then work on the last two worlds after that. So, thank you all for watching. I'm excited to see you guys in the next episode. So, Shifter out.